All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kings and Priests podcast. Probably the vast podcast, too, because I think we're going to do a crossover episode so that it's on both feeds. But I'm here with a bunch of dudes who are behind the Reformers NFT project, which I think is such a cool project. Probably the best, and not that I'm a expert by any means, but probably the best like activation of an NFT, especially in the faith-based space that I've seen. The second NFT that I ever bought. The first NFT I bought, I sold in about 13 hours. And this one I have not sold. In fact, I don't even think I can remember how to get into my app to see it. So I couldn't sell it if I wanted to.
That's the best way of doing it. Dang, what was the first NFT you bought? I'm curious.
It was a golf one. It was the
Linked out.
Hold on, Links DAO.
Oh, Links.
It was
Yeah.
Links
Wait,
DAO.
confirmed. Michael no longer a Links DAO holder.
No longer
Did you
Links
flip
DAO.
it, like make a profit, and then with the
I did.
profit buy a Reformer?
Yes.
And now you're a diamond hander. Solid.
I'm a diamond hander.
You are a true degen. There you go.
I literally had to I had to FaceTime a guy in our church and have him walk me through how to do the whole process. So I'm very much a novice. Okay, so we're gonna talk about NFTs. We're gonna talk about kind of this project you guys are building, why it's so important, what your just perspective is on all of this whole Web3 world. Why churches would start kind of like wading in those waters. But first, let's do this. Let's go around and just each of you introduce yourselves. Tell us kind of like where you're at, where you live, what your background is, what got you into this. I do got to say, Carol Keene is on the podcast. And so for anybody who's listening today, Carol was honestly an integral part of our church community. And in fact, I remember Carol a couple years ago talking about launching this podcast network at Civil Coffee. You're one of the first people I had a conversation with. So we go way back.
Yeah.
You left us here. You deserted us in our darkest hour on the West Coast to go to greener pastures.
Absolutely.
But it's good to see you, man. So hey, yeah, why don't you guys start? Steven, why don't you start? And I don't know, man. Give us your background. Tell us what got you here, and introduce yourself.
Man, yeah. So I've over the last decade or so, I've kind of been film director / creative director of a bunch of different projects, agencies, and so now I'm currently with Ligonier Ministries in Orlando, Florida, and I oversee their film and media team. So there's about 15, 16 of us on the team. And so all audio, video content that we produce is kind of, that's my team and it's what we do. But my crypto journey started in 2012, 2013, where I was at a creative agency called Polymath out of Atlanta, and another web developer and myself, we were looking at Bitcoin. I remember using the Prev.com app. Or the website. I don't know if you've ever used that, but it's the simplest way of monitoring Bitcoin price. It's Preev.com, and it still exists today. Actually, let me double check that. It exists, yes. I remember looking at Bitcoin for like $300, $400 and buying some. Did not hold it very long because, I was a poor, newly married, person with some kids on the way. So, but crypto, new technologies have always interested me. And so fast forward, NFTs, I came across NFTs towards the end of 2020. And so it's been, I guess, maybe it's been about 2 years that I've been kind of aware of the technology. Yeah. And I mean, we can talk about Reformers in a bit, but that's a quick TLDR of my last 10, 15 years.
Cool. Carol, you're next on my window that I'm looking
Great.
at. Why don't you
I'll go. Well, I'm Carol. Hello to all my C3 fam out there listening. Even and I have a weirdly similar backgrounds. I've also done a lot of video directing and creative directing over the last decade. Worked in the industry in LA, did mostly location scouting out there, and also have always been fascinated by new technologies. So I'm like Steven, but behind, because I didn't find crypto until early 2017. Made what for me was a fair amount of money, and then lost not all of it, but a lot of it, and went through the deep dark bear. But was just frustrated sort of because I was really into blockchain and crypto, and I saw the potential. And I'm like this vision ideas guy, but not very tech savvy. So even though I loved what blockchain represented, this like trustless kind of decentralized idea, sort of sovereign individual stuff, I was like, that's kind of cool. But I didn't know what to do with it because I'm creative and I'm not really that techie. So once the bear started and no one was making money, I sort of put it aside for a bit, although I did judiciously buy Bitcoin and Link for under $1 over the bear market, which was a huge get for me. And then once it started creeping back, and also when COVID and the pandemic hit, that's when I had to flee LA because all my freelance work dried up. Went to St. Louis, started being good old unemployed. My wife got pregnant while I was living with my parents, so I was like, this is awesome. But just as that was happening, the DeFi summer started, like crypto kicked back into gear. I started getting more into it and having fun again. I did not get around to NFTs until maybe early 2021. And the problem was that I remember CryptoKitties in 2017, like vividly. I remember all these people buying them and they, lost tons of money. And I was like, you guys are idiots. And so I don't understand. So when NFTs came back around, I was like, oh, this is like CryptoKitties and those are bad. That was a mistake. So it wasn't until I met someone on set that was like, you got to learn more about NFTs. I was like, okay, cool. He's like, I'm in this project called Neo Tokyo. And I was just like, sign me up. And it ended up that Neo Tokyo was this really cool NFT community focused on building the metaverse, building blockchain gaming, and building in NFTs. And it's happened to coincide. This is now like late last year, happened to coincide with this slow period in work. And I just dove in. I mean, literally like 8 hours a day, spent like living in Web3. Coming up for air and realizing like no one, like most people actually don't care yet, but feeling like I'm early. And then I actually saw Michael Whittles. I saw your Twitter. I think you posted your Twitter or something, or a screenshot of your Twitter, and I saw that you had this NFT verified profile picture. And I was like, what's that NFT? And you said the Reformers, and here I am.
That's awesome. Sweet. Isaac, what's your story, man?
So I am a digital strategist at heart. That's what I'd call myself. Started out running Facebook ads for law firms and stuff like that maybe 6-7 years ago. Started working with bigger clients like traditional media agencies and that type of thing, helping them with their digital transitions. And then eventually kind of ended up here where we've got this new Web3 space coming into play. Started trying to figure out as a believer, like, how is this stuff going to impact my heart when it comes down the pipeline? How is this stuff going to impact the kingdom? How can we impact the kingdom with it? How could God use it for his redemptive purposes? And started asking questions like this. And then started reading a guy who I follow up here, his blog post. His name's Tim Challies. Started reading a post by him and saw him give a shout out to Prophet, who's on this call as well. So that was pretty cool. Started following along with Prophet, and he started talking about the Reformers, and that's how I ended up here, man. And currently for work, I'm working for a ministry as of like 8-9 months ago called Faith Tech. So I started taking this idea of redemptive technology a little bit more seriously and trying to use some of my skills and gifts to help others think through that process and that story as well. So yeah, excited about Web3. I think kind of the biggest opportunity from my perspective is when we think about people searching for information, searching for things they want to know about. I just have a real hunch that that's going to start dwindling down and people are going to start trusting their communities more that they're a part of for their information. And I just think Web3 and these NFT projects, it's all going to naturally fall into that so much easier. So I'm just excited to be here, man. And I'm outside Toronto too. I should mention that up in Canada, I got my Tim Hortons in my hand here. Good to go.
Nice, man. I bet it's
You're from Canada? We couldn't tell. we wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right, Prophet. Are you going to show us your face on this thing or not? I'm kidding. You definitely don't have to do that.
Dogs, man. Let's go.
Yeah, it's Prophet. I'm actually really excited, happy to be back with you, Michael. I thank you so much for last time. That was a fun. We saw a fun bump from that over at the Substack and everything. That was a
good.
total blast. I had the best time. And so I'm stoked to be back. It's also fun to listen to everybody else's backgrounds on the call, because I am the token. When you read all the Web3 content blogs and they say, hey, you can work in crypto with any background. You don't have to have a tech background. I am the you don't have to have a tech background on this call. So I'm the unlike everybody else's background, I don't come from like inside of the tech space at all. I gotta have a Bachelor of Arts in History. I read a whole ton. I've always been technology adjacent, but never in a highly technical background for work or anything like that. I'm also probably later to crypto than everybody else here. So crypto was always something that I was aware of, and kind of poked at and looked at along with everything. And I started getting more and more involved in investing. So my door in was like the actual standard, like TradFi investing route. And in about 2020, late 2020, early 2021, I kind of took the plunge and started slowly accumulating just really boring, boomer coins, just Bitcoin and ETH, and watching stuff. And my kind of way in was through literally through like Discord communities, the Soaring 20s Social Club, and a couple other places. And I started writing about stuff that I was interested in and felt like, okay, I'm fascinated by crypto. I'm learning as fast as I can. I'm buying, NFTs, trying to figure that out. Who out there is thinking about this from my perspective, which is, look, I'm a believer. And so everything I do, I have to think about it from the perspective of, well, how should a believer approach this? What is what does our worldview say about this? So I started, just poking my head up and looking around, and kind of writing the Substack has helped me to kind of meet people, so I kind of met Michael. I don't remember how any of this happened, but Stephen, I know I met you on Twitter somehow, I think through Reagan, probably. In fact, I think this might all have kicked off from me, Reagan Rose, one time, and saying, hey man, I really appreciate this one thing you wrote. And he was kind enough to email me back. And then we started chatting about crypto, and then Reagan and Stephen and I got together and wrote that piece that Tim Challies was kind enough to publish. And that kind of kicked off a lot of fun stuff for me. And I've just been like having fun with all the opportunities. And when Stephen explained the kind of Reformers project to me, at first I said no, because I'm busy and I got stuff. And then he explained what he really wanted to do, and I kind of couldn't turn him down. So that's why I'm here. And it's been a complete blast just kind of seeing all of the crazy opportunities that the Lord has in the space right now.
That's awesome. All right. So I want to get to kind of some of the details, the vision, this Reformers project, where that's going and all that kind of stuff. But first, let's just set the level. Let's level set here. So I'm an average person who kind of pays attention to the markets. I'm a bivocational pastor. I run a business. I volunteer as a pastor at my local church. I'm into investing. I had nothing to do with crypto other than knowing that it existed until a couple of years ago. And so I've sort of followed the narrative, through kind of this whole last cycle. And have bought and sold a bit of crypto here and there. So I know a bit. I read today that in 2022, we've already seen $1 trillion in value has been lost in the crypto markets in general. So I think the average person hears crypto and they hear Web3 and they hear NFT and they think oh, that's just a bunch of tech nerds buying and selling and trading things online to make money, and maybe don't really understand the full ecosystem and sort of the full vision behind what it is. So just give me whoever wants to, just maybe give me just a quick, this is what Web3 is, and maybe just talk about the utility that it brings beyond just an investment vehicle.
Not it.
All right, well, hang on. I'll throw out my very squishy, like, liberal arts view of this, and all the tech people can come in with like the hard backing to it. But so the reason I got excited in crypto is because I love to look at things from a historical perspective. And to me, what we're seeing right now in crypto in terms of, and I'll just use Web3 as a catch-all term. When we talk about Web3, that means, if Web2 was Facebook and banks online and things like that, Web3 is Bitcoin, Ethereum, smart contracts, NFTs, all of that stuff. And the potential that we're talking about, to me, the only analog that I can think of historically is something like what the printing press was for, that technological revolution. And the reason why I say that is I think that what Web3 is going to allow people to do, the reason I'm excited about Web3 as a potential is because it lets smaller and smaller and smaller groups of people do things that previously were only reserved for massive corporations or huge organizations of people. And I think that's a really powerful thing. A word that, if you're not from a crypto background, a word that you're going to hear thrown around all the time is decentralization. And that word usually starts flame wars on Twitter because people have disagreements about what it really means. But to me, what's important about decentralization is it means that Web3 tools, in a lot of amazing ways, can take the gatekeepers away from some very powerful things, from being able to bring people together to work on projects, to build strong networks and strong kind of ecosystems. And those are things that before, if you wanted to do things like that, you had to be part of a massive organization. And nowadays, I see groups of people. I mean, we're part of a group of people building something that, while it's a small version of that, I mean, we're building something that maybe in eras past you would have had to be a much bigger organization to build. So to me, that's what we're talking about. I love, I like investing. I think the speculation part is interesting, but I understand why it scares people off. I think there's parts of it that are actually very damaging to the space, and I'm not a fan of, because I think it distracts from what to me is the most amazing opportunities, which are building things at scale, and being able to start from a very grassroots level. So that's my kind of squishy answer. Now somebody bring in the technology side.
Yeah, I mean, was the question related to investment or as the technology?
That's a good question. I mean, listen, it shows you what a novice of this I am on this I am, right? So, I mean, I just think in general, why is it? I think a lot of people just think of it as an investment vehicle. So they hear crypto,
Yeah,
they hear NFTs, they think of it simply from a monetary perspective. So maybe just talk
I
about
mean,
the bigger picture.
so as an investment, I'm not really gonna. I mean, you look at Netflix in the last 6 months, they're down 70%.
Mhm.
So, I mean, investments vary. It's supply and demand, market manipulation, things outside of our control. I think we can be wise with our money and make good investments, but that's I'm more interested as like what's the technology kind of underpinning it all, and that's the blockchain, which is just a public ledger that anyone has access to, and then specifically, I think what is just really interesting is what an NFT is, which is a token on this public ledger, a proof of ownership that anyone can view. And so, I just see any kind of contract in this world, any kind of exchange, any kind of proof of ownership that is needed in the physical world is going to be needed in the digital world. So that can be anything from a website subscription to a Super Bowl ticket to your profile picture. I mean,
Mm.
your mortgage contract, like it will all be tokenized in the future because, I mean, in the same way that there's economies built around the real world, man, there's going to be tons of economies built in the digital world, and it's only possible because of that technology, that proof of ownership, verifiable via the blockchain. So, man, when we look at a metaverse, like that just looks like a video game, but it's more than that. Like I you you know you care about the way your character looks, and you care even more when you can actually say, "Hey, I actually own this." I actually own this cool sword, or people spend hundreds of dollars on Fortnite skins, and it's the same reason people will and already do spend a lot of money on NFTs. So
Mm-hmm. So that's great. Why don't you guys just talk to me about how this whole Reformers project started? So this is a podcast for entrepreneurs. It's a podcast for people who want to be entrepreneurs, bootstrap founders, all the above. You guys each have jobs. You're each very busy. What I don't know, Stephen. Maybe just like give me the quick like chain of events that led to meeting these guys on the internet, getting this project, building it, getting it out into the world, and just like what that process has been like, just from a nuts and bolts perspective.
I'm trying to trace back the genesis, and maybe Prophet knows this better. Originally, what Prophet and I were building, and maybe this was close to a year ago now. We had a conversation to build an onboarding tool, kind of like a master class for Christians to learn about crypto, to ask questions. Like, this is not a scary space. You can ask questions, and there are actual answers. And like, how do you use the space? Like, what does stewardship as a Christian look like in this space? What's an NFT? Like, just simple questions. So that was originally what Prof and I were discussing. At the same time, all these communities started coming out. This probably was about a year ago, because Bored Apes came out in April, Cool Cats came out shortly after, World of Women. All these communities around different values came out. So I started thinking around the community aspect, and so one of the first things, and so the genesis of this, like of Reformers, was probably close to a year ago, when Prof and I were first talking, but it didn't actually come to fruition until I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 6 months ago. So firstly, we wanted a place for people to come and learn about Web3, crypto, NFTs, and not be scared to ask questions, but then to have that community, and Discord allows for that in a unique way. Discord allows for you to verify that you own a special token on the blockchain that grants access to like an even deeper community. And so that was really interesting. Secondly, we wanted to build a space where the Christians that spend a bunch of time, like Carol, on crypto Twitter, that understand the space, that are in other really strong communities. We wanted a place for those people to connect with the traditional Christian organizations to, just imagine, like, you have large organizations like, I don't know if I should throw names, but you have large Christian organizations that know they should be in this space, but have like zero idea where to start. Well, now imagine if you could connect that person with Carol and just have an hour, 2 hour conversation. Imagine what kind of ground could be covered. So that was the second kind of idea behind Reformers. And then thirdly, and this is what Carol can speak to more on, and what we're working on, and we're going to be relaunching our website with this and some other exciting things soon. But we want a place for like-minded people to come and build the next generation of Great Commission projects and tools for Web3. So it's kind of like this onboarding community side, and then the Genesis collection, which is the 126 people, is for like the type of people in this group right now. People that are building in Web 2, that know like Web 3 is coming and it's the next iteration of the internet. What's it look like to take what we currently do and take it to Web 3? Yeah.
I think like what got us excited, because the original project, the masterclass type idea, we saw like this need for all these. They always say build something that you kind of wish you'd had along the road, right? And I really wish that along the road I could have busted into the space and dropped into this class, or this, whatever you want to call it, where a bunch of believers who are thinking about it from a kingdom mindset would have explained to me, look, you're going to want to do this, stay away from there, that's scary, check out this, it's really cool, here's 3 fun things to play with that you need to know about, also here's what I'm doing, watch me. Like, all that stuff would have been very helpful for me. And not only that, but then once we started thinking about that, I think the real thing that got us excited about doing something more than just the class, which at this point, our original idea has kind of gotten folded into Reformers as a value that we can offer to the community. But the idea of adding community to it is, I think, what made us excited. To me, I always kind of say to people in the Discord, it's like, look, we want to kind of be like the base camp, the lighthouse where everybody who's kind of out there figuring this out and getting freaked out and saying, whoa, everything's down bad. Now what am I supposed to do? We want to provide a place where Christians can come back. We can encourage each other. We can explain things to each other. We can, bring alongside newcomers. And instead of just like having them get beat to death and get discouraged, we can say, hey, look, like avoid this pitfall that I hit, you know, and then we can educate them and explain new things to them. And as a community, we can be stronger, team up to build things, which is something that's already started to happen, which I'm really excited about. We can share research and things that we're seeing so that everybody doesn't have to feel this constant, like I have to be on all the time to see everything, you know what I mean? Because we can pool all the things that we're seeing together. And you can feel like, okay, if I want to take, 3 days off of crypto Twitter, I got friends that are going to see some cool stuff and drop it to me, and I can rest, which I think is really important and helps people not to burn out, because unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, this is a 24/7 space, and Christians are supposed to be good at resting. So we got to figure that out, right? So all that stuff is I think the was where we started saying, look, we got to do something that isn't just like a one-time class that people could do, but it's this ongoing kind of base camp that could start spawning more and more stuff as people start collaborating and teaming up to build. And we just kind of want to provide the big empty room where people can do that in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Why do you guys think it's important for Christian leaders to not just be informed, but to care about and start building in the Web3 space? Like, I think a lot of times people just think, oh, a church is going to need to have like a service in the metaverse, and have a really difficult time thinking about any of this beyond just that. Like, I don't know, maybe just talk about your passion for helping Christians not just like understand this, but understand why it's actually really imperative that we have a voice in the space.
I think a lot of it, I mean, I'm going to keep my answer short so others can answer, but I think a lot of it comes down to attention and like, where is the attention at? So I think churches and Christians just specifically were like massively late when it came to just Web 2 or Web 1, like just websites, social media. Like, how do we engage where the attention is? Like, we didn't even think about that till like 5 or 10 years later. And so attention is shifting. Attention of the next generation is already on like TikTok and Snapchat. Like, are we engaging those platforms, and how are we serving those people? And like, is there, Great Commission like purpose behind the way that we're on there? And so I think attention is just, and I mean, look at video games too. Look at Roblox. Like, my kids love Roblox. Every kid I know under 10 loves Roblox. Um, that like, I think I may have read this, maybe not. Maybe you'll have to edit this. But I thought, if Roblox isn't thinking of like blockchain technology and integrating that, another group will. And it's, I mean, just knowing and understanding the space is going to be so important, because that's where the attention is going. Look at every big brand. It's not just because big brands, like, we should just do what the world's doing. But there is some wisdom in like observing our surroundings and probably prayerfully considering like what is driving that. And it's largely attention, but then it's also like the technology behind it, which is what we were talking about earlier. So I think it's just important, for that reason.
Love that.
Isaac,
Carol?
you're over there at Faith Tech. I was gonna say, Isaac, you're over there at Faith Tech, so I feel like this is kind of your wheelhouse.
Yeah, man, I can maybe pipe in here. So to me, it's just a big opportunity, at least compared to what I've seen in the past, for building depth over width, right? So, and especially when it comes to those relationships that we're building online. I mean, I've never been a gamer or anything like that, but you see those evangelists on Twitter that build these awesome relationships through video games, and they're literally being the hands and feet of Christ per se in a game. And I think that just from my perspective, like as a Christian, I have this huge opportunity to build real authentic relationships with people in these projects, not necessarily like the reformers. Like I think this is a huge opportunity for encouragement, and I think the fact that I'm even sitting on this call with you guys is um, maybe an example of the fact that like I would never be sitting here getting to know you guys unless I purchased the NFT in the first place. Who knows what God would have had planned, but I see that being the opportunity for this space in the sense of other NFT communities I'm a part of that wouldn't be Christian based projects. Like I'm building real relationships with people. I'm building uh, able to serve, able to provide value in these Discord chats. And I mean, just from in person experience, like I've seen God work in amazing ways through relationships I've built through co working spaces and that type of thing, where you're actually getting to work alongside people on a day to day. And I just see Web3 as like, as Christians, there's so much potential for us to kind of take that same kind of thinking, uh, not being the kind of bait and switch guys like follow me on Instagram and I'm going to post the gospel tomorrow and hope that leads you to Christ. Like I just see us having an opportunity to go out, join these projects, and really serve and provide value in these Discord channels or communities or whatever you want to call them or whatever they're going to be. But yeah, that's why I'm excited as a Christian.
Maybe if I could jump in too and provide, because I think it's just even listening to this call, like the diversity of like perspectives, because we're all coming from very different places, right? So I'm kind of a local in my normie like day job life. I'm a very local ministry first kind of minded person. That's my obsession. That's what I've have and continue to spend my life doing. And so I think about all this stuff from a local pastor's perspective, and I totally get the reluctance from that perspective, right? And I agree that there's a lot of people like, look, I am not going to, nor would I counsel anybody to put church ministry funds anywhere near the blockchain right now. Like that would, this is all in incredibly beta stage, and I don't think that would even be wise at this point. That's like saying we would put our church, treasury into the S&P 500. Like maybe don't do that. But what I am excited about, right, is I am excited about, for example, Michael, like you talk to Dean all the time, and Dean, Tithely is a product that I use at our local church. And to me, Tithely is an example of a great use of Web 2, right? For a ministry context. Look, let's find a way to enable churches to leverage easy payments and stuff like that to allow people to faithfully tithe to the work of the ministry in the local church body. To me, Web3 is an analog of that. How are we building ways that the church could use those Web3 rails to do the ministry in an effective way? I'm not out here, saying that every church needs to deploy an NFT project or have a governance coin. I think those are kind of gimmicky at that level. I'm not even super excited about some of the metaverse stuff personally to me. But what I am excited about is like, look, how are we as Christians actually thinking kind of 2 or 3 steps down the road using this technology, just like the printing press, right? The printing press came out and you could have used it and it was used for any number of things, good, bad, and indifferent. But Martin Luther sees it and says, look, I can asymmetrically leverage this to get gospel information into people's hands who couldn't have it before. So Web3 comes out and it can be used for any number of things, good, bad, indifferent, and silly. As believers, we look at it and we say, okay, how can I use this to further gospel ministry? And there are people now that are working on this kind of quietly in the background where they're thinking about ways, because there's all these different applications. We're hopefully soon going to kind of be dropping some stuff just a little bit more internally to our community. Conversations we've had on a one-on-one with people who are thinking about using Web3 to deploy information in censorship resistant ways to hardened areas, kind of difficult countries, to in terms of evangelism, enabling payment rails for missions that are censorship resistant or easier for missionaries to use and receive on their end. There's a lot of those applications that look less, I think, scary and weird and look much more like, oh, cool, that's just ministry, but even better or easier for us to deploy. And that's kind of the stuff that, from a ministry perspective, I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's almost like really looking at Web3 as a mission field in many ways. And it's actually kind of funny, you guys keep bringing up Discord, and as again someone who's been a local church pastor in a very large city, in a church that has done everything we can to like foster and facilitate community. I think I'm in like 2 or 3 Discord servers. I'm on a couple of different Slack channels that are all centered around a podcast or a Substack or whatever it might be. And the community in um, those communities are honestly like just as authentic and just as real as the community that we've been trying to build, in a place like LA. So I think there's so much to the like community building aspect of it. Let's talk just really quickly about the missional aspect of it. I mean, obviously, I actually want to read it because I just really loved the perspective here under the vision portion of you guys' website. You say in the 1500s, the German monk Martin Luther utilized the new technology of the printing press to ignite the Reformation. Every generation and new movement requires reformation according to the Word of God. Web3 is no different. I don't know, maybe just talk a little bit more about that idea of feeling, for lack of a better term, I'm a charismatic, so we love to use the word mandate. But it almost seems like to you guys there does feel to be a bit of a mandate behind what you're doing. It's not just like some creative project, but there's real mission behind it. So I don't know, maybe just talk personally, whoever wants to jump in, of maybe kind of the motive and the mission beneath why you're doing what you're doing. Because I think that's part of what really sets this project apart from any of the other ones that I've seen.
Prophet, you can jump in. I can say something. Well, I mean, one of the mottos of the Reformation was Semper Reformanda, which is always reforming, and like always reforming. Semper Reformanda, something, something, something. I don't know the rest of the Latin, but always reforming according to the Word of God.
I mean, I think I don't want to steal your thunder, Stephen. So just cut me off in a second.
No,
But
go for
like
it.
that the Semper Reformanda thing that jumps out to me is like, look, that's been the mission of the church since the beginning. Within the beauty of the Lord's church is that we are constantly not doing a great job, and the Lord's grace is stepping in and reforming us and cleansing us and purifying us constantly. I mean, look, read the book of Acts, man. Like they were instantly screwing it up, and that's I've always loved that in ministry. As you get into ministry and you immediately recognize how you're not ready, and you look back and you see the guys that go before you and like, man, it must have been better back then. And the secret is it wasn't, And so what I love about Web3 is if you were around, and maybe this is difficult to describe, but if you were around in the 2020, 2021 period in Web3, there was like an energy that you just really felt like, wow, anybody could just start a Discord server and all of a sudden you could have a community that could do something that could impact the real world, not just the digital world. Like I'm a digital world person, but I'm about bits flipping atoms. Like I want to see you use something digital to make something real. And you were watching that happen. That was popping off constantly. People were like incredibly excited about, oh, we could do something real. And some of those things were crazy and didn't pan out. But the fact that people were starting to imagine like, but what could we do, was very exciting to me, because to me, that is that's what we are good at as Christians. That's what ministry is you sitting there and realizing, oh, I could go, get a plane ticket, fly to another country, meet some believers there. We all immediately agree on what our mission is because we're serving Jesus. And therefore we can go out and make that mission happen because the Holy Spirit's going to guide us and direct us to exactly what we're supposed to do. And to me, Web3 is just a tool to do that, and the Semper Reformanda thing is like, look, we've always, I wrote this morning about the idea that we can't go back, right? On the Substack, it's like we can't go back and hope for these bygone days or like the last generation's opportunities. Those are gone now. We have these opportunities. And to me, if you look around right now, Web3 is one of the opportunities that the Lord is giving to the church and saying, what are you going to do with this? Like, let's see what you're going to do with this opportunity. And look, some of the greatest heroes of the faith that we've appreciated or we look back to, they were guys who did this. You look at, look at Billy Graham, right? Where Billy Graham sees television, which is arguably not a fantastic medium for the gospel. Like, it doesn't make us smarter, I don't think. I think we've run that experiment. We've decided it's not great. But Billy Graham said, hey, what if the gospel, except we leverage TV? And I don't think anybody would argue with the impact that had. And so I think it's as Christians, my whatever my inspirational take that I can have is, look, you might have that opportunity right now. You might be in early enough to see people use Web3, but for the gospel. And I can't imagine that would have a lesser or smaller impact than what the Lord has used other technologies to do in the past.
That's great. Carol, you've been quiet over there, man.
Yeah, well,
What are your
I'm
thoughts?
kind of the newbie to the Reformers, but I can say why I was drawn to it and why I was looking for this project before I even knew it existed, which was, I've always been interested in new technology. I think at the core, like I want to figure out how the world should be, like how can we make people's lives better? And for a while, I was focused on superficial things, I think, in my maturing stage, and then realize that people want to belong. They want to find truth. They want to be in community. And so, getting into NFTs, I discovered community being built around these, things on the blockchain. I was like, this is cool. And immediately kind of caught the vision. I watched Ready Player One along with everyone else. I was like, this is crazy. Like, is this what the future is going to be like? And got a little bit scared. Because I tried to imagine, what my life would be like, what people's lives would be like if they were wearing a VR headset all day, and really dug into NFTs and Web3 to figure out, okay, what would be the good way to build this world, like, and I want to be a part of it, sort of naively with a little bit of hubris, saying like, why not me? Why couldn't I, have a stake in this new world? And as I learned and sort of discovered and started, thinking about the philosophy of it all, I had this thought, like, there's 2,000 people in Neo Tokyo from all over the world, incredibly high class people. I mean, I'm probably, one of the least impressive people in that community, and, learning so much from them. And then all of a sudden I started thinking, like, is there a Christian in Neo Tokyo? Like, out of 2,000 people, like, it's a pretty good chance, right? Like, there might be one or two. And then all of a sudden, like, I hadn't even thought about it. I'm like, are there Christian NFT communities? Because what I'm doing out here, I come from like a film background, and like, I was out in LA, so like I'm so used to building in industries that are like frankly fairly godless, and just kind of being that guy that's in there and doing my thing. But what I discovered in the Reformers is this group of Christians who aren't necessarily trying to make Christian things, although some are, and that's awesome, but they're trying to make good things. And like the quote that always stuck out to me is Martin Luther, I think, said, I want to make, the Christian shoemaker makes great shoes, not shoes with crosses on them. Like that's always been my personal thing. I want to figure out how to make good, whatever I'm doing. I want it to be good. I want to make excellent Web3 projects. And in Reformers, I get to do that for Christians who are making these missional projects and make sure that they're effective. So that's kind of what I'm excited about right now in Reformers specifically.
Awesome. Let's talk builders for a second. So on your site, you talk about, which is, Carol, kind of what you were talking to as well, is it looks like you guys are kind of launching this startup incubator. And to just take it right from your website, you says startup incubator to work with other Christians and local churches to launch your Web3 project. Our team of Christians with professional experience in Web3 will help provide strategic guidance, expertise, and funding to selected groups. Like, talk to me about the vision behind that. What are some of the projects that you guys are looking for? What is this going to look like? Maybe just give me just a bit of a range of the different kinds of things that you've been talking to people about, or what problems that you want to see solved in doing this, because I think this is really great. I don't know that I've seen anything else exist like this in the faith-based space, where there's experts saying, hey, if you're working on something in this space, like hit us up. Let's like build this thing together. So I don't know, riff on that a bit.
I'll let Carol. Oh, sorry. Let me say one quick thing before you hop in. That description is still semi-accurate, but it's a lot more fleshed out than that, and so that's going to kind of come with the next iteration of the site. One of the amazing things that the Lord's provided that has been so unexpected is like people like Carol, people like Isaac, people that have like seriously successful projects in Web 2 and now in Web 3. So people like Josh Ong, who, if you follow him on Twitter, others
Mm-hmm.
like that are believers, are building in this space, have significant followings that are, reformers holders, and they willing to be a part of the community and the building aspect in this next iteration.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just such a unique list of like talented people that the Lord has brought like to this little group already. Um, and it's kind of just starting. Like it's hard to imagine that because this is really, along with once we have, I mean, I just keep saying this new website. Once this new website comes out, and it has like this fully like fleshed out, well-rounded kind of view of what Reformers is, it's going to be hard not to want to have a Reformer to be a part of that community if you are a Christian building in Web 2. So I'm super excited about it, but um, I'll let Carol jump in and kind of explain the genesis of that. And to be fair, let me say we were wanting to do this product incubator builders even before I knew Carol, and um, like I mean it's just amazing. But Carol comes into the picture and is in a part of a community that does this exact thing, but for secular type projects. So it's just perfect, and so I mean that's really what Carol's leading up for Reformers.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. Stephen, I was jumping in to ask for you to tag team this with me, so perfect setup. Yeah, I mean, how cool would it be if there was a place where if you were a Christian and you had, enough of an understanding about Web3 and NFTs to have a great idea? How cool would it be if there's a place to come and be in a community that would help you build it, no matter what stage you're in, no matter what obstacle? I mean, that's the general concept. I've been really obsessed with this idea in Neo Tokyo, the community that I'm in. So my day job, I didn't mention this in my intro, I'm a creative director for NFTs and Web3s for brands. So every day I'm thinking about how do brands launch Web3 and NFT projects that don't suck, that don't feel like, hello fellow kids, like we don't get it. And so,
Yep.
all love towards the Christian community, but there can be a bit of that, where we jump into like a new thing and we don't get it, and it's just like it's not.
No way. That's never happened. That's never happened
Never
before,
ever.
Carol.
God touches every Christian project and makes it. No, but it's just, and it's not even, my point POV is like, I'm not judging you. I just want your thing to be good and to be effective and to reach others than, beyond your local church community or your family and friends that, participate. Like, let's make this thing sticky. So because that's my day job as creative director, and then in Neo Tokyo, I started up an initiative where we wanted to help builders out. When I was in Reformers, I was like, oh, this would be the coolest way to use this thing that I'm building, that I'm doing in my day job and then doing in my main community. And now, I'm in the Reformers. It felt like the ultimate culmination of it all, because now I get to help Christians actually make projects that could matter, instead of helping people make cool JPEGs and build a community around them. So really, it's like submit your project. The basics are submit your project. You fill out an intake form. There's some work up front involved to make sure that you're serious. No matter what stage you're in, that's cool. We review that, select you, and then you get a call with a group of advisors, half hour, and we just talk about where you're at, what the next thing coming up is, what you need help with, and then we can transition you to someone who will sort of mentor or shepherd you, I think is what we're going to call it, through that stage, wherever you are. And then we can just repeat that loop. And if you meet some people in the community and it takes, your project takes off and you don't need it, great. Or maybe you need a little more assistance, like whatever it is, we want to provide this utility to someone. I mean, it would be so neat if really someone felt like the ticket to figuring out how to make this idea in their head come alive would be to get into the Reformers community, for people that would care about them and support them and have this incredible range of skills and experience to support them in all different sorts of ways. So.
And as far as the projects we're considering, there's a few, and I mean, we can't really talk about them, but we're hoping to kind of launch with a bang. So we'll say
Mhm.
that.
And these are, so for some clarity, these would be like Christian projects, church projects, nonprofit, but also for profit. You're kind of just saying, hey, anyone that is a Christian in this space that is working on a project that
Yeah.
would like align with you guys' values, the doors are open to hit you guys up. Is that kind of that's kind of the what you
Yeah.
guys are looking for?
Yeah. I mean, it's really as broad as that. So yeah, that sums it up well.
Hmm. What else, man? Okay, so we just got a couple minutes left. What else? What are some other things you guys are working on? Give me some like inside baseball. Like where
I think,
else is this going?
I mean, that's a lot. Carol just dropped a bunch of alpha. So, I mean, that was good. I think one of the most underutilized aspects of our community is, or of, sorry, of what we're building. And I mean, we offer a lot of this for free, but is our Substack. So we call that the Reformer. But we have a free version of that, and we have the Scholars version, which is for holders, that features just some unique or some articles from different holders in our community, or and some other things. But the Reformer is like such a helpful brief of where, and maybe Prophet alluded to this earlier, but we all don't have time to just spend hours scrolling Twitter and catching up, but we can easily read a newsletter that breaks down, highlights a project, a few links that you should know. It kind of gives you a rundown of the space and it feels like you haven't missed out. It is, I think, one of the best onboarding newsletters that every single Christian should sign up for that is curious about the space.
And
Um,
that's just from your website, which is reformersnfts.com. Is that right?
reformersnft.com. Yeah, and then you just click on the
Yep.
Substack. It's reformer.substack.com.
Okay.
But yeah, that's I mean, we give that a lot of love, but it's really, I think, the onboarding place. Um, the other thing that's interesting, uh, so our like kind of Web3 education, we're working with Sean couldn't be here, but um, we have another team member who has developed something called Web3 Simplified, and the URL for that is just web3simplified.xyz. So that's a
Yeah, I was
Reformers
looking at that
project.
today. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's an amazing place. There's a dictionary. What's an NFT, like what's NGMI, uh there's that. Then there's courses, and we're going to build up more courses, and we're going to also build, so it's very like anyone can use that, Christian or not. um
Hmm.
and then but we want to build out some courses around Christians entering the space, kind of questions that Christians will ask, or that your local church pastor might ask. So yeah, a few of the things we're
Awesome.
working on.
Guys, this is
Yeah, and
great.
I'll kind
Go
of
for
throw
it.
in too, like, so I think that kind of, just to consolidate for everybody, like that kind of paints to me the picture of like zero, to I'm going insane on this and I want to build stuff. Like that's kind of the path that we're hoping to be able to provide for people, because we've seen that like in the space there's believers at like every stage, right? So stage one is like, look, I just discovered crypto yesterday. I have no, no bags, no money in, and I just need to learn. Look, you can come in day one for free. You can jump in the Discord. There's a huge amount of the Discord that's available and open to you with no, investment required. And now you're learning, you're talking to other people. There we have a questions channel where you can ask questions, and any, people, we're called the wardens or whatever in the project, who are like community, moderators who have a lot of experience, can come in and answer your question and point you in the right direction to resources. We're dropping like good links for everybody to read. There's a whole, free newsletter dropping every two, no, maybe a little bit less than that, but every at least every month, where you're able to read that. And we're putting a lot of effort into making that a really good kind of roundup of the space for you, where you can say, oh, here's some important news to be reading, here's a cool, project to check out, here's some articles to be catching up on. Then kind of at the next stage, you're saying, okay, this is really interesting and I want to identify with this community and I want to go a little deeper and get some more access and some more knowledge, and that would be for people who typically would invest in holding a reformer, which is a bigger investment, right? And what you're doing is you're not only being part of the community and holding the reformer and rocking the PFP and doing all that cool stuff, but you're actually, by doing that, you're kind of acting as a patron to the whole community. So you're supporting the work that's actually going and assisting believers in the space who don't have that ability or don't have the desire to buy in. You're supporting all this work for them. So it's a really cool model where instead of like, our goal here is not that we're all going to moon these profile pictures and then sell them and cash out and bro down on a yacht. Like, that's not what we're doing here, right? What we're doing is, hey, let's, well,
Maybe.
I mean, if it gets to yacht level status,
yeah. Well, that's that we didn't have that.
We'll have
on
one
the
of those
roadmap. Yacht is later.
Mississippi houseboats. I don't know what they're called,
yeah,
but you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
Our goal is, look, as if you're holding a reformer, you're actually demonstrating that, look, I'm investing in a way that's actually providing this, good for the rest of the Christian, people who are interested in Web3 community, which I think is a really cool model. And then at that stage, now all of a sudden you're getting access to more stuff, and we're developing like this in-depth, resource library where we're trying to add stuff that everybody in the community is able to add to, and say, hey, this is a vetted resource that you need to check out. You're participating in these, chat rooms where we're talking about building projects and collaboration with people. And then kind of the next stage from that is, okay, now I want to go deep and learn. And so here's, crafted classes that are being provided through kind of bespoke stuff that Web3 Simplified is developing. Here's a path to building a project that is being developed with Carol. And so it's kind of like this pathway as you're getting deeper and deeper in the space. There's more and more resources and stuff available to you. So we want to kind of provide that like entry level all the way to I'm psyched and I'm getting my friends together and we want to go out and collaborate on something. And we want to be kind of available at every stage of that. And so that's I think kind of what we're excited about. But I just want to, if you're listening to this and you have no idea, there's resources that we want to make available to you right now. Jump on the website, get in the Discord, and like we're there to like kind of Sherpa you and explain stuff to you, all the way to if you're already heavily invested, we want to partner with you and be a help to what you're doing. So
How much more time do we have?
As much as you guys want. You tell me.
Oh, okay. So we can go full Rogan on this. We know another 3
100%.
hours. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
whatever.
Well,
Whatever you guys want. I mean,
is
Go
it going
ahead.
to stop recording if I hop off here or anything?
nope, not at all.
All right, guys, I got to jet here. Thanks for having me.
all right.
Alex, Isaac,
Isaac.
thanks so much, man.
Peace.
Yeah, Isaac.
Thanks, Isaac.
dude.
Um,
I was just gonna say.
yeah, listen, I'm down. I'm down to keep talking. I got nothing to do, so you guys,
Yeah.
keep going.
I was just gonna. I think it's worth saying that. I mean, this is kind of just piggybacking off what Prophet said, but we have like some of the ways we want to get people excited about NFTs. And this isn't going to last forever, but the first, I forget how many it is. I think it's 300 people that enter our Discord get the Pilgrim role, and the first 250 people that come into the Discord get the Pilgrim role, and you can claim a Pilgrim's Progress Celestial City NFT that was done by our artist. It's phenomenal. But there's only 250 of those, and the current floor price of those is 10 ETH. So it's not fixed at all. But so I mean that's really cool. We'll give that to you for free. Like you come into the Discord, get your Pilgrim roll, drop your wallet address, and so it's amazing that we've had over let's see how many we have. There's 81 people that have claimed their free NFT that was not free to produce. Like it cost money. Like it's a really nice NFT, and it's on layer 2 Matic. So layer 1 Ethereum, and then layer 2 chain is called Polygon Matic, and so you can view it right in your OpenSea account along with all your other Ethereum based NFTs. So that's really cool. And then like this is, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about this, but it's on our roadmap, I believe. At the very end of our roadmap, we have. Let me double check. If it's not, that's fine. But we have the Reformers 2.0 collection, whatever we're going to call that. Reformers the current collection that is out, this 126 NFTs, the Genesis collection, is very unique. It has a higher, barrier to entry. We all agree. We've talked about that lots. It's not for everyone, and we want the community to grow, and it has continued to grow around like all the free stuff that we're also doing. Um, Once we have builders rolled out, once we have talents fully rolled out, um, and maybe one other thing, we're already thinking about, and we will launch the Reformers 2.0 collection, which will be our generative NFT collection that will have a traditional like minting experience, and like there will be thousands of those. The number hasn't been set yet, and the barrier to entry it won't be 0.2 ETH. It'll be much lower. So that's something really exciting, and that just like kind of brings the community together in a whole another way. So we're really excited to be working on these things, to be thinking about Reformers 2.0. But then also like it's not that we set out to be this, but it seems that we're kind of positioned to be in a way where the Lord has just brought so many pieces together, and we want. I mean, now it's like if you're a believer and you want to learn about this space, like come join the Discord. We have a wealth of knowledge in there from people that I keep meeting. There's I'm going to shout out a few people, but there's a uh, German guy named is it Karen? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Who's like I forget the company he runs, but he's an engineer of some sort. He's in there, super knowledgeable, answering questions that I can't answer. We have some UK people in there. We have an OpenSea engineer in there. I forget her name. But there's all these Christians that work at like these established Web3 orgs like OpenSea who have found reformers. And there's other like project builders that we've highlighted. There's the Kingdom Warrior project. There's Patrick's project, the Metaverse. Yeah, so it's just exciting to see like who's kind of in the group, and yeah, a wealth of knowledge for you to ask any question. We have a whole Slack, whole Discord channel for
Discord.
questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I use Slack at work, so I can't get it off my mind. But,
No, that's awesome. Man, this is all really good. I feel like I have a ton of questions. I guess though,
Shoot.
before we, well, I was going to go kind of in a different, more like just crypto Web3 ecosystem
yeah,
economy
let's
in
do it.
general. Where we're at now in terms of like, let me try and like frame this up properly. Like sort of where we're at in the economy now, right? We're sort of seeing like startup valuations plummet. You're seeing just like a lot of people think did an episode today with Dean, and he's talking. He thinks there's about to start, be like a big wave of layoffs, and you've got all of this capital that has been raised, that has been made over the last 10 years, that has now been funneled and invested into Web3 projects. Obviously, crypto has been crashing in different forms over the last couple of weeks. I don't know, like just give me your take, like where are we at right now in the market in general? Obviously not investment advice or anything like that. Just like talk to me about, are we moving into like another version of a crypto winter, or do you guys see, I don't know, just like give me some macro, where are we at in the space right now? And does that in any way affect you guys build? A lot of what we talk about on the podcast lately is listen, if you're a startup founder, money's drying up. It's a difficult time. The whole game is changing. Do you guys see that in a similar way in Web3, or are you guys in a different place?
I can tell you, we are absolutely not in this for the money. Like it's yeah. So I mean, we're going to keep building regardless. I mean, we all have full-time jobs that pay the bills. So any money that comes into the project, I mean, we've already been transparent about this, but it just rolls right back into the project. There are things that do cost money, and so we have to pay for those. But even then, I mean, we're gonna keep building, and so I think as far as like the current state of things, I mean, goodness, I'm not an economist at all, but I think what an NFA and DYOR, and all the other caveats, but um,
Mm-hmm.
what the Fed is doing to combat inflation potentially, and like the Fed has never done a good job at this, could lead to layoffs and all sorts of things like that. Um, and that's what they're trying to prevent from happening, right? And so maybe like, can the economy cool off and on all that and level out? I guess we'll see. I think uh, the Wall Street Journal did a good. They have a podcast called The Journal, but they had one of their latest episodes was, can the Fed lower inflation without causing a recession? It's worth listening to. It's like 10-15 minutes. Um, but one of their forecasts said it could be a dark, 1 to 3 years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's always good to prepare for those things. And you know, I think the investment advice as far as NFTs and we would all have the same. I think is like, don't invest money, especially like in new technologies that you're not okay losing. Um, but the other piece of advice is like, invest in teams and in people. Don't invest in these goofy projects that just spin up, that have a bunch of FOMO around it, that have an undoxed team, and then next
Mm-hmm.
minute like they're saying peace out and buying their yacht. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so um, yeah, do you guys have
Yeah,
thoughts?
I actually kind of want to piggyback on that, like, because I've, you know, we're all like the thing about the crypto space is we all have to kind of eat our own cooking at some level, because it's like, look, we are all also personally invested variously, and living in a space and figuring things out, right? So I'm kind of I'm watching all this not just for my like, oh, this is my hobby, but it's also like, hey, I have some personal, family money that's going into this space, and so I'm carefully, monitoring that, right? And yeah, everything, and it's important to remember, right, that like media wise, everybody talks about, oh, it's the great crypto crash, and it's like, yes, it's also the great everything. Like everything is
Everything.
down right now. And so that's important to remember, right? Let's get some perspective. Let's remember,
Mm-hmm.
look, like this is what markets do. Markets are volatile. As long as,
Yeah.
and I this is something that we've been dropping this stuff into the Discord to kind of help everybody level out and realize, look, like the goal in all these things as a believer is if you're coming in here with this goal to get rich quickly, which is what unfortunately a lot of people come into crypto with that goal, you're not gonna make it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
part of that is the Lord's mercy. Like the Lord stops you because that's not a good, that's not wise, right? So what should be the goal, right? To me, the goal is like, look, I want to help believers use their knowledge and their wisdom to build a little garden that's actually going to provide for their family and their ministry and their community in such a way that, hey, let's talk, real talk. If we actually go into like not just crypto winter but like actual economy winter for a while, I want, you know I would love to see us go back to like kind of the monastery vision, which was, the monastery wasn't just a place where people holed up. It was actually a place where there was productive industry going on that would support the people in that community around the monastery. That was kind of how those spaces were used.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. My vision, what I've been trying to jam on and talk about on the Substack and in our community and stuff is, look, we have this opportunity as Christians to get ahead of these technologies and be in these spaces in a way that could provide like strong, resilient communities and networks for your church, your community. And that's true whether, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the market. What I can predict is that if we're slow and careful, and if we continue to just survive carefully, economically, and as we build these communities, we could be in an amazing position to really be a good witness of you know, what's the actual point of all this and why we're actually here, right? Because in a bull market in crypto, everything pops off, everybody's excited, everybody's a genius, everything's great, right? In a bear market, most of those people disappear. And I
Mm-hmm.
want my goal in my heart is for there to be Christian witness through bear market times of like, look, we're here because we believe that we're using this to do what the Lord is calling us to do. We're not here for, just mooning and making money, because, bear market time in crypto, a lot of those projects are going to go away, and you'll see the building projects kind of stick around. And I think that's what we're endeavoring to be. And, it's actually to me, it's a massive opportunity for us.
Guys, I love it. Thanks for the time. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for talking. And we'll have to do this again. Steven, give us just a quick, where can people find you guys all online? Like, I don't know, go around. What are your Twitter handles? What are your websites? Like, just so people can follow you. We'll link to them in the show notes, but let's just give everybody just a quick second to say where they can find you.
Do I give my DGen Twitter account? Or do I give my actual Twitter account? I'll probably give my actual one.
I almost posted from my DGen Twitter account, like thinking I was posting on that, but it was my actual one. I may have a Twitter account that trolls all the deconstructionist Twitter accounts. May or may not. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Fine.
Anyways, go ahead.
My name is too long for Twitter. Maybe Elon will change that. So it's at Steve McCaskill. My website is Stephen McCaskill. If you want to shoot me a question, though, probably better. StephenMcCaskill.com. Sorry. Yeah.
Carol?
Yeah, I'm super easy. Just at abundant without the U. I don't have I guess I'm a DGen and a real person combined at this point. I finally did it. So that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Love it. And Prophet, we know where to find you. theofuturist.substack.com. What are you on Twitter again?
It's Prophet spelled all weird because I don't care about SEO, and I'm just living in that world. So
it's just the O is a 0 and the E is a 3, right?
The E is a 3, right? It's lead.
Yeah.
And also all the team stuff is up on. We're all linked up on the Reformers website and everything as well, so you can find all of our Twitter and everything on there. And that's a good place to start. I think if you're listening and just wondering where to start, just hit the website, and we've got links to the Discord, to the Substack. You can find, I'm sure there's a link somewhere to my Substack project and everything up there as well. So
cool.
The other thing, we started this whatever we're calling this, and it was I think Mike, you said something like I'm here with a bunch of guys. Well, we're not all guys. We actually have a girl, a part of the team. So okay. Chelsea, she's currently in Paris at the moment. So she's sleeping. So maybe the next time we can we do this, we can do it early in the morning and catch her. But
yeah, that'd be awesome. Would love to do that. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much. Yeah, exactly. We'll definitely do this again. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for staying up a little late to accommodate this. You guys are I think you're all on East Coast time, right? Or at least Central time. So appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys soon.